Independent living is the holy grail for seniors. This will benefit insurers by delaying the entry into an expensive congregate care facility and claim payments associated with the cost of staying in the long-term care home. So in terms of the burden of aged populations on society, we can really talk about multiple facets. But to begin with, I just want to define a term that's often used called the age dependency ratio. And what it measures is the proportion of non-working age individuals to working age individuals in a particular country. So the higher the ratio, the greater burden is placed on working age individuals to care and provide for the elderly. So for example, in Japan today, the age dependency ratio is almost 70%, which exceeds the 60% level that defines superaged. So the financial burden on society is certainly significant, along with the emotional burden on the families caring for the elderly. The burden on governments to fund care for the elderly also exists. And here promises were made a generation or more ago that now need to be upheld, and governments are finding it difficult to keep their promises due to the aging populations. There's also the burden on insurers to pay higher claims for aging policyholders for many protection products, and this is really all over the world. Most importantly, I would say the burden on the aging individual who's living every single day with the detrimental impacts of and uncertainty surrounding aging. So aging is a condition that is truly unique in terms of its broad burden. Regarding lifespan versus health span, I would say as a society, we've done a very good job at extending the lifespan of individuals. And this was really most impactful when the average age at death was in the 60s. Unfortunately, what wasn't accounted for was the burden that unhealthy people place on society, especially as they live longer. Health span can be defined as the number of healthy, disease-free years of one's life. So while lifespan has been increasing, health span has not. The objective now must be to increase health span so that it matches lifespan and individuals can live in a healthy state until their final few years. The shortening of health span has also impacted insurers, who are seeing higher claims and lower profitability as their insured populations age. And that's where wellness and policyholder engagement efforts come in to offset the detrimental impacts of shortening health span. Dementia is particular among the conditions related to aging. It's less well managed compared to, say, heart disease or diabetes in terms of its diagnosis and care. Dementia is a complex condition to manage with a particularly large emotional burden on families and society, which eventually takes a financial toll. So what we see in many markets is that dementia-related insurance claims are among the most prevalent, and dementia is in fact the number one trigger to determine when a policyholder leaves the comfort of their own home and needs to enter a long-term care facility, thus triggering an expensive long-term care insurance claim. Dementia claims are also among the most complex to manage due to the physical and emotional aspect of the disease. But there are opportunities to do a better job of identifying and managing dementia earlier and reduce the incidence and severity of associated insurance claims. In terms of opportunities, there are some really interesting developments on the horizon. Startups are emerging that have developed technology to detect dementia earlier so that attention can be paid to slow down its progression. These new digital tools use different sets of biomarkers, such as speech and eye movement, to detect dementia at the mild cognitive impairment stage. And the tools they're developing are also easier to administer, often only with the assistance of a family member and not requiring a trained professional. Along with this, research is being conducted to understand how lifestyle modification can play a part in slowing down the progress of dementia. Finally, drugs continue to be developed that hold the promise of complementing these efforts to slow down the progression of dementia. These are all very helpful signs that senior wellness solutions can help better manage conditions related to aging, including one of the most devastating, dementia. So effectively, aging in place reduces the burden of aging. There are two important pillars to support aging in place. One is the supporting the needs of family caregivers, and the second is detecting impairments earlier and managing those conditions. Family caregivers are really the backbone of support for seniors, and supporting family caregivers' needs means that the elderly can age in place longer than without this support for family caregivers. Detecting dementia earlier and better managing the condition will also help the elderly by delaying the most detrimental impacts of the disease. The third leg of the stool is digital tools. And by digital, I mean data-driven. The vision is to leverage data to move along the spectrum from a simple alert that the elderly individual has suffered an adverse event in their home to detecting it in advance through prevention. This will require a huge amount of data along with artificial intelligence and machine learning, but the building blocks exist for such systems to be developed. So with these distinct opportunities to allow the elderly to age in place, this will benefit insurers by delaying the entry into an expensive congregate care living facility. What excites me most about eldercare innovations are the tools that are being developed that leverage technology, advances in medicine, and data, the trifecta, so to speak. Startups are taking clinically validated tools and developing technological equivalents so that they can be applied more efficiently and cost effectively to reach a broader audience. When we can detect impairments relating to aging earlier, then we can take proactive measures to slow down their progression and their detrimental impacts. And when we add in the means to support family caregivers, then we truly have robust means to allow the elderly to age in place, reduce the burden on society, and improve the profitability and viability of protection products that cover risks related to aging.